6 guests want to share 2 1/4 pumpkin pies left from the party. How much pie should each guest get? Before we do the math for this problem, let's look at some actual pumpkin pies and see if we can figure out how much each guest should get just by using a knife. Here we have 2 whole pies, 2 whole pumpkin pies, and 1/4 of another one. What we want to do is cut these pies up so that we can share the pie equally amongst 6 guests. Now, let's see how we could do that. If I cut each pie into quarters here, here, and here, I'd get 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces from the first pie, 5, 6, 7, 8 from the second pie, and then I'd have a 9th piece. Well, I don't want 9 equal-sized pieces, I want 6. This situation is a little bit complicated. Let's do the math first, and then we'll come back and we'll slice up our pies. So we see that for this problem, it's not so easy to guess how much pie each guest should get. Let's go ahead and do the math to figure out how much each guest should get, and then we'll go back and slice up the pies. This is a problem where we're taking a quantity and we're dividing it up into a number of equal-sized parts. So we need to take our quantity and divide by the number of parts. The quantity here is the pie. The number of parts is the same as the number of guests. We have a plate for each one of our guests. Now the pie, the amount of pie we have here is 2 1/4 pumpkin pies. We're going to divide by 6, the number of guests. 2 1/4 divided by 6 we write as 4 times 2 is 8 plus 1 is 9. 9/4 divided by 6/1. We need to convert 2 1/4 to an improper fraction, and we need to write 6 as 6/1. Now we can apply the rule for division. We recopy 9/4 and multiply by the reciprocal of the second. That means we flip the second and get 1/6. Now I have 9/4 times 1/6. There's some canceling I can do here before I go ahead and multiply. If I break down 9 as 3 times 3, over 4 is 2 times 2, times 1/6 is 2 times 3. I notice that I can cancel a factor of 3 above and below. I think that's all the canceling I can do here. Now if I multiply across the top, 3 times 1 is 3, and multiply across the bottom, 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8, 3/8 is what I get. In fact, that means that each guest should get 3/8 of a pie. 3/8 of a pie for each guest. Now let's go back to the pies and see if we can actually slice up the pies in that way. So now I see that I'd like to be able to give each guest 3/8 of a pie. In order to get 3/8 of the pie, first I need to slice them up into eighths. If I take one, cut it in half, and cut it in again, I'll get quarters. And if I cut each one of these quarters in half again, slice it once this way, and slice it once this way, have that whole pie cut into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 equal sized pieces. That's cut into eighths. Now I need to cut my second whole pie into eighths. There we now have our second whole pie cut into eighths. Finally, I need to slice up my 1/4 of pumpkin pie that remains here on the side. Notice that each eighth in the whole pies is obtained by cutting a quarter pie in half. It's half of a quarter. So if I cut this quarter into 2 equal sized pieces, there we go. Each one of these is an eighth of the original pie that was in the pan. Now I'm ready to serve up my guests. Each guest should get 3/8. Well, here we go with 1/8, 2/8, and 3/8 for one guest. For another, 1, 2, and 3/8. For my third guest, here's 2 more eighths from that first pie, and they get a 3/8 yet. There's the 3/8 for that guest. Now I need 3/8 for another. There's 1, 2, and 3. Now, let's see here. I go 3/8 for another. 1. And here, I'm just going to grab 2/8 there. That's a total of 3/8 for that guest. And notice I have 1/8 left from my second whole pie and 2/8 from the quarter pie we had on the side. So I now have 3/8 of a pie for each of my 6 guests. Well, now that we got our pies sliced up and our problem solved, it's time to try a little bit of that pie. Let's see, pumpkin pie.